Every time. Every time.
That's not a comic book. Yeah, that's a comic book.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the monthly comic roundup show. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is the Vacuuminator. Hello.
Hi, everyone. You want to see a magic trick?
Sure.
I'm going to be able to spoil both Infinity War and Doctor Who, The End of Time, by just saying 3 words. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I don't want to go.
Yes, so if you're looking for our review of Avengers Infinity War, you should have been here before we started broadcasting.
Yeah.
That's what you should have got.
Quick summary. It good.
It good. Yeah, it good. I have probably more complex thoughts about the crush licorice that I ate during the movie at this point. I'm a big fan of exotic licorice. You can do a lot of cool things with licorice besides just strawberry, folks.
I've never been a big licorice fan, but I am going crazy for all the new M&M flavors they got right now.
Interesting. All right, well, here we are for another episode of the monthly comic review show. For those that don't know, the premise of this show is that Vac and I will go through our top book from every week of the previous month, or in this case, the month we're still in, of new comic books. We'll talk about best book of the month, our favorite cover of the month, and the worst book of the month. So, all that being said, let's quit stalling. Let's just get into it. Vac, do you remember who went first last week?
I believe I went first last month.
Yeah, I always do that. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and go first this time. So I'll start us out for the week of April the 4th. I'm going to go with Sonic the Hedgehog #1 by IDW. Now, this is actually a really interesting pick, and by all rights, I maybe should have actually removed it, because they decided to release 4 issues in April, one every week. And this was the first one, and I got kind of hyped, kind of excited, kind of really liked the first issue. And the second, third, and fourth issue progressively went a bit down for me. And it's not like there's anything bad. It's hard to do Sonic the Hedgehog bad unless you're making a video game. And so this was it's just okay. It's just fun. I realized going through stuff, April was not a great week or month. Yes, the week of April. April was not a great month, man. I have a lot of this is just okay. I listened
to your reviews, and I think you were a lot harsher on this month than I was. I thought there was a lot of just okay stuff, but there was a lot of phenomenal stuff too, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Every week had 2 phenomenal books for me.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm glad, because I just enjoyed this. It's fun action with Sonic the Hedgehog, which is exactly what I want for a comic. I'm still on the fence about whether or not I want to keep reading the book now that it'll be out monthly. Maybe I'll be able to enjoy it more monthly. I just don't know. But as of right now, I thought it was just okay, but the first issue was definitely the best, and so really cool, exciting jump on point, and it's written well, and the art's cool, and it does action cool, and so that's why I liked it. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I've never been a big Sonic fan, but that comic sounds like for Sonic fans, it should be really good.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that.
Real quick before I go on to my pick for this week, are we doing honorable mention before best of the month now?
How did I forget that we did honorable mentions? You go ahead and do your first pick. We'll do honorable mention at the very end. I'm going to go find an honorable mention.
Okay. My pick for the first week of the month is Batman #44. I had to check if it was 44 or 45. This issue, holy crap. This is for me, the definitive statement on Batman and Catwoman's relationship. I loved everything about this. Just the way it delves into sort of the back and forth they've had through all these years of comics, and all the stuff with Selina trying to put her dress together was just really fun and hilarious. This might be my favorite issue from King's Run so far. I'm not sure, because I've only read every issue once, but it's so good. And why is this the variant cover? Like it really annoys me that that's the way this is, because the regular cover is Bruce looking at himself in the mirror, but we don't see him pick out a tuxedo in this issue. This issue is all about Selena getting her dress and their relationship. I don't see why Bruce looking at himself in a tuxedo needs to be the main cover. That's a little annoying to me. But that's like my only complaint with it, and that's the cover. Overall, what was inside this issue was fantastic.
Definitely agree with you there. God, that is a really interesting book because it deals so heavily with the idea of, at least for me, of this relationship cannot function. You know, this relationship cannot function long term. And I know Tom King's
I think depending how you look at the story, it could be an argument either way. Either it can function or this is why it does function.
And see, that's the thing for me is like, she goes out and does a thing that puts the relationship in jeopardy. And that's just what Catwoman does to their relation. Like it's always Catwoman does a thing that Bruce just cannot tolerate. And that's why they should not be together. So I don't know. It's definitely a concerning and really freaky turn on things. And I did like all the throwbacks, the history stuff too.
Yeah. It'll be so interesting to see what the actual wedding issue is like.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. You want to go ahead and go on to week 2 then?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. Oh, that was going to be my honorable mention. I'm going to move that. All right, so for me, I got Captain America number 700 by Mark Waid. Yay! This is just a cool anniversary issue and everything. It dealt with the with this story arc, Man Out of Time, that Waid's been writing. It does a lot of timey-wimey stuff, which is pretty cool. But ultimately, it just has this really great speech, you know, where Cap says, "Hope is not a plan, but you sure as hell can't win without it."
Let me tell you something, Ian.
Really good.
I really liked that issue when I first read it. It's not my pick, but when I heard you talking about it on Weekly Comic Reviews and you pointed out the comparison that's going on there, I loved it even more.
Yeah. The allegory to the real world right now in the Captain America book is so strong, I think, because it's done really smartly, unlike Secret Empire. Secret Empire was just really blunt and in your face about it.
Secret Empire was like reading someone's Twitter account.
Specifically Nick Spencer's.
Yes.
And like, well, I will say this a million times. Comic books, particularly superhero comic books, are not the place for subtlety. This is definitely not being subtle about its criticisms, but it's not being super direct. You have to think about it for just a second or two.
It's not a protester screaming in your face.
Yeah, it's really trying to make a point and guide you to that point without just alienating you. That being said, I don't know how many conservative guys are going to be reading this, and this is going to be the thing that changes their viewpoint. But I feel that message, hope is not a plan, but you sure can't win without it, is a pretty good message for people struggling right now with the current political climate and stuff like that. So I was pretty happy about this. And then there's a backup that I thought was interesting, and
I didn't actually read the backup because I thought it was like it was going to be a reprint, and then people told me it was a new story cobbled together from old artwork, and I was like, that sounds even weirder.
Yeah, it's a weird one to get through. I'm not sure if it's just all an original issue that Kirby drew, but it never got lettered and storied properly, and then Waid just came in and completed that section of it, or if it's like okay, here's some panels of Cap from different books, and we're gonna recolor it all so it all matches, or what they were doing here. It's really interesting to
whoever
read,
interviews Mark Waid next needs to ask him about that.
Yeah, I don't know what the situation is with this one. It's really an interesting idea, and honestly, I've been aching to see Kirby's artwork done with modern coloring for a long time, and so it was really pleasant to see just for that, if nothing else. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Wade's going until what? Captain America 705, I think. So I'm getting like angelic face over here. Oh well. We'll just have to deal with it. I'll lean forward or
we can color correct it in post. Don't worry.
Yeah. We'll fix that in post. This is the problem. Damn you, spring.
Yeah. It's amazing because it's like not that bad for me, even though I have 2 windows right next to me and 1 right here.
Well, you got the 3-point lighting then. You've got like the 2 off to the side and then the 1 in front. I've just got everything coming from over here, and there's just a wall over there. So
maybe you should move your desk over to that wall.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it would just be backlighting at that point then, as opposed to side lighting. Anyway. All right. What is your second pick?
My pick for this next week is Domino #1. Domino is a character I've always kind of known about. I know she has a really big cult following, but I didn't know a whole lot about her. And the same can also be said for the writer of this book. This is Gail Simone doing at least the first arc of this ongoing. I don't know if she plans to do like a whole big run. But, you know, the next Deadpool movie is coming out. Domino is going to be in that. So I thought, you know, I haven't read a lot of Gail Simone, even though people constantly talk her up. I haven't read any Domino. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. And it was a wonderful surprise. I really enjoyed this. Domino comes off as just kind of this sort of fun, every girl with problems that come with being the kind of person she is. You know, she's a mutant. Her skin is completely pale. Her powers pretty much make it so there's only one line of work she can be in, which is being a mercenary like Deadpool, but she doesn't really have the personality of a mercenary. She really only does it because it's the only line of work she can get into. And the way this issue opens with her on a mission was just really interesting to see. And then the rest of the issue was just a nice little fun moment because this issue takes place during her birthday. So her friends, who she's in a mercenary group with, I guess, throw her a surprise party. And all the X-Men are there, and Deadpool's the DJ, and she gets drunk and talks. I forget what she said, but she burned Colossus pretty bad because he's her ex-boyfriend, and he's right now about to get married to Kitty Pryde. And she said something very specific about, like, I heard you're getting married to Kitty. Must be nice to have a wife with a normal face. Ooh. It's like, whoa, burn.
Damn.
And then of course there's a big cliffhanger setting up the arc that this book is going to be going on. I have no idea what's going on there. It might be some old X-Men thing I'm just not picking up on because I'm not a big X-Men comic person. I'm more of an X-Men movie person. Mm-hmm. But this was pretty good. This is going to be on my poll now.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I thought about it. I've seen Gail Simone talking about that book a lot on Twitter, but I don't know. I did a video the other night with Ruben for a character discussion. I talked about X-Men. I'm just like, X-Men, even for me as a comic guy, X-Men is the most alienating comic franchise I can think of.
X-Men seems like it's one of those things that it's either you're in it or you're never going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to penetrate it. I'm finding little in points, little chinks in their armor trying to get in there.
Yeah, like I really want to read Grant Morrison's X-Men run, but just all of X-Men is like, God, it's almost its own separate universe at a certain point. And
I'm one of those people
know.
who often argues it should just be its own separate universe.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of what kept me away from it, but I'm kind of kicking myself now. It really makes me really, really curious. I might have to pick up the first arc whenever that's in trade or something. Give it a chance.
Well, I'd recommend at least this first issue.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead and go on to my next pick for the week of, what are we at, the 18th? Wow, we're moving along. So this really shouldn't surprise anyone because, I mean, it's history. Action Comics number 1000. Wow.
Yeah.
It's weird to be here. Like, I started reading monthly right at like the lead up to Action 900. And so, like, I've been there.
Was that the one where there was a bunch of controversy because there was a story where Superman renounced his American citizenship?
I think that might have been in that issue. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I got into comics too.
Yeah. That was like, it's one of those things like, wow, I've kind of been here for a while now. I've always felt so new to comics ever since I started reading monthly because I read trade for so long.
Yeah.
But I always felt so new to comics and continuity, but now I'm just like, I'm here. I was here from 900 to 1000. Admittedly, we went back to 1 somewhere along the line there, but still it feels big, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's Action 1000. There's like a million stories in here. I like most of them quite a bit. Tom King's story was really interesting. I didn't even hate Scott Snyder's story. For me and Scott Snyder is saying something.
The 3 I really liked were Tomasi's, King's, and John's. And most of the other ones were just varying degrees of okay, and then I did not like Wolfman's. I thought Wolfman's felt really lazy.
What was Wolfman's again?
That's the one where they're... You know, I don't even remember what it was about. I just remember that I distinctly knew 2 out of the 3 pages were reprinted and re-lettered from another book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. No, for me, I really like Jurgen's story. I thought that was really, really sweet. And just kind of like embodied like the love of Superman. So it was a really great love letter.
Wait,
to
did I
Superman.
say Tomasi's was one of my favorites?
Yeah.
I meant Jurgen's. That's the one where he's at the end of the earth, right?
No, that's King's when he's at the end of the world.
It's been too long since I've read this.
No, I have trouble keeping them straight, so I can't really remember all the names. I just know Jurgens was the first one because he's been writing Action. So we got a little bit of a like handoff here, and I really love Jurgens. I see Jake Carlson in the comments say Jurgens was really weak. No, it was not. I highly disagree with that one. The idea that the Justice League and the rest of the heroes would like take on an alien invasion and keep it hidden from Superman. That's what that
one was. Okay.
Yeah, keep it hidden from Superman so that he could just have a day for people to say thank you. Oh, that's too good.
I liked it, but it felt like I'd seen it somewhere before. I've been trying to think of it all week, but I can't think of where I've seen it. It just felt like this is familiar.
Fair enough. I really enjoyed it though. There's rumors circulating. I'm not sure if this is confirmed, but there's rumors that Morrison and Quietly had a story in here that got cut because it conflicted with Doomsday Clock.
Huh.
And I'm like, what?
That's interesting.
Yeah, God, I hope that's not true.
Oh, you know what it was? I just thought of it. It reminded me of the Fantastic Four wedding issue.
And see, I haven't read that, so that doesn't...
Basically, that story is just every superhero in the Marvel Universe running around fighting villains so Reed and Sue can have their big day.
Oh, that's sweet. No, so I really like that one. I loved King's story because it's really, really deep and interesting, and it's like the classic thing with Superman where he does a normal human thing, but on a super scale. So like he does this really sad, like, but real thing of going to visit the graves of his parents, but he does it on the most epic scale conceivable at the end of the world. And so that was really good. I also really like, I think it was the Tomasi story where he's traveling through the different the different decades, and I thought that was
Yeah,
really
that's
cool
the
too.
Tomasi story. That's why that was one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. And then the lead up to Bendis, like we've been having these Bendis is coming ads for like months now, and Bendis' story was just okay.
I would not be surprised if it's just a scene cut out of an issue of Man of Steel.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping too. Because that was less than ideal, especially with how much of it focused on the trunks. I'm like, can we just not do that?
See, that's a very Bendis thing to do, though.
Mm-hmm.
He'll have characters make comments like that in his books all the time for humor.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. I really like this though. It's awesome. I love this Mike Allred cover. Normally I stay away from variants unless they're just like really, really cool. And you know how much I love Mike Allred's art, and he's the perfect choice for this, tribute to the Silver Age kind of thing that they're doing here.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
I just got the regular one, but my book had, or my store had all the covers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I know a lot of people are doing like, I'm buying every cover. I'm like, no, I ain't about that life. There are times where I will buy a book and then I'll end up getting the trade. And I always feel guilty enough about that. The idea of buying multiple books for only the cover, no, I can't.
Well, when I buy the trade, I always sell my issues back to the comic store.
Oh, that's cool. That's pretty smart. I should probably do that, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
That would be like 2 days of sorting through comics for you, I bet.
I don't know, maybe. I keep them reasonably well organized. Okay. Reasonably. I say that as I look at a giant stack that I haven't gone through in like 2 months. No, but I really love this. One little detail on it that I quite like is the approval thing, because the Comics Code Authority is bullshit, and I get why people have that nostalgic connection to that little stamp being there, but I don't want people to glorify the Comics Code Authority, so I thought it was really cool to put approved by DC, approved by the authority of DC Entertainment. I thought that was a really neat touch.
Yeah.
That and the border. Oh, I love the border. It's all the little details on this that I love. All right. What else have you got for us, Vac?
All right. Well, for week 3, my pick is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 26. And I do have a variant cover here. I usually get the regular covers for this book, but my shop got shorted this week, so I had to take the variant from them. Boom is finally giving me what I've wanted from them since they got the license. This book does so much to go all over the Power Rangers universe and do little things here and there to build on various seasons and parts of the mythology. And it really does feel like, I had my doubts about Shattered Grid, but this really does feel like an event comic. Like, I would say the tone of this issue, at least, is comparable to Crisis on Infinite Earths. The scene of Tommy's funeral was super emotional, which was a big surprise for me because I'm in the camp that kind of doesn't like Tommy unless we're talking about Dino Thunder. But then the part where Jen's giving exposition about what exactly is happening that's causing all the shows to cross over in this event was really interesting and really well thought out. I did not give Higgins enough credit. I thought the name Shattered Grid sounded kind of dumb. I thought when I first heard it, I thought, shouldn't it be Broken Grid? Even putting aside the idea that you don't shatter a grid, you break it. Shattered Grid sounds a lot like Shattered Glass, which is a Transformers comic event. But the way Jen explains what's going on with the morphing grid here makes perfect sense. I forget what exactly she says, but she says something along the lines of think of the morphing grid as a piece of glass. When Draken killed Tommy, it caused such a big paradox that the entire thing cracked into a bunch of pieces. And now every season is happening at the same time, but it's all in its own little pocket dimension. And if Draken kills anyone else, it's going to completely shatter the grid. So that's how that makes sense. And then the scene with the Samurai Rangers was really short, but actually really cool. I've never really cared about Samurai, but the way they perfectly place that scene in continuity, where it's after it's after Samurai, but somewhere during Super Mega Force, because Jaden and G aren't there. They're presumably off in Howard County giving the Rangers the double disc. But the Nylok are coming back, so that sets up for a potential Samurai ongoing, which is really smart on Boom's part because, at least with kids, Samurai is one of the biggest shows right now as far as popularity goes. Like, ask any kid who was between 6 and 10 when Samurai came out, who their favorite Power Ranger is. They will not shut up about the Red Ranger from that season. Trying to think if there's anything else. No, this is just really good and really great universe building, and I'm finally getting into the Shattered Grid thing. You know, I've been really tentative about it. You guys know my thoughts on the last issue from the last roundup video. But this was good stuff. I like it.
Nice. Yeah, Shattered Grid still, it's Power Rangers. I'm just like, good for Power Rangers fans. I'm glad. I'm happy for you.
The thing about the Power Rangers comics is it's a lot like the MCU at this point. Either you're gonna keep up or you're not gonna watch.
Fair. I think that's a fair way, because it's a lot of commitment now if you want to get through all of the MCU if you've somehow missed the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I actually worked with a lady back when I was working at the station, and she comes in one day and she says, my boyfriend and I went to go see Avengers. Apparently, like, it's this whole movie universe or something. I'm like, wait, what?
Oh.
And she'd like gone, like, it was in 2015, so she'd gone through like 8 years or whatever of not knowing about it. If the Avengers,
that poor deluded normie.
I know. I was like, how did, like, I conceptually do not understand how you miss some of the top grossing films of every year. It's ridiculous. Oh well. Robert Emmett in the comments says, PR comics are the shit, dude. Loving Shattered Grid.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Good for you. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to my pick. This book is on an uptick for me. Darth Vader by Charles Soule. My running gag for this book has been that it feels like a video game. Not a good game, because I don't get to play it, but it feels like the plot of a video game most of the time. This arc is turning that around for me. Like, there's a lot of imagination. There's a lot of just clever, like, he clearly thought out just the terms or rules of engagement for fighting a war with a species that dwells in the water as the Empire's taking on the Mon Calamari. He's doing a really good job writing this at this point, and it's really ticking up for me. And Vader's doing some cool shit, which is just cool to read. There's this just on an uptick for me. It's getting a lot better as we're going.
Yeah, I bought that issue you talked about last month, and it was pretty interesting. So I may have to get the rest of this arc when it comes out in trade. It sounds neat.
Yeah, it's definitely on an upswing. I wish Charles Soule is such a hard writer to pin down for me, because sometimes I think he's like really on it and he'll do some really good stuff. Like Poe Dameron book had its moments where it was like, damn. And then it's just like he gets distracted or something. I don't know, because there's a really wide variation in quality with what he writes, and this is on the upside. So I hope he can can keep committing to this book and give it the kind of story that it deserves and the kind of quality that it deserves, because he's proven he can write a Vader book well some of the time. So yeah, I really enjoyed it for that. And again, there's just cool, clever stuff in here, like Vader, drowning or falling further and further down into the ocean, and like the pressure getting really high, so he forms a force bubble around himself. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's just cool, clever stuff like that. A lot of rushing. That, and the other thing that was just really cool, because I don't think I've ever seen this before. I'm sure some of my more Star Wars heavy fans will have, but wet troopers.
I'm pretty sure that was a thing in the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars.
I don't remember seeing clone troopers with wet gear like that. Specifically the flippers. The flippers are the cool part to me. I don't know, something about that I just really enjoy. So, just cool, just really well thought out, looks really good. Then it's cool to see Admiral Ackbar and like get to be doing things besides saying it's a trap. Like he's, I'm sure there's other stuff that's shown him being like a tactician and stuff, but that's pretty cool. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with Raddus, because there's some talk, like Tarkin's talking about Raddus in this, and he's like, don't play Raddus for a fool. He's planning something else. He's not just defending. I'm like, that's pretty sweet. I'm kind of liking the military engagement side of this book right now, so that's cool. It makes me want a Tarkin comic. Just throw that out there into the world.
I know there's a Tarkin novel.
Yeah.
People have talked that up extensively, but I've never read it.
Yeah, I've heard of it too. It's by the same guy who did Darth Plagueis, and I didn't like that, so. Anyway, what are we on to now? Honorable mention. What's your honorable mention?
I got to do my pick for this week.
Okay, my bad. I'd lost track of weeks. What's your pick for this week?
My pick for the final week of April is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2018 Annual. I don't have a whole lot to say on this that I didn't say on MMPR number 26. This is mostly just really fun getting to see new stories with all these teams, because it's like it's a short story for each of the teams that are going to play a major role in Shattered Grid. So I think we have Zeo, In Space, RPM, SPD, and Ninja Steel. I think that's all the ones. The Zeo one was absolutely my favorite for the sheer fact of someone finally explained why Jason has his original morpher in Forever Red. That was really cool. The space one was pretty okay. I get why a lot of people are so into it, because there's a huge fan base for the character it focused on, and he doesn't get nearly enough focus. RPM was pretty interesting. I liked the sort of conversation that happened between Dr. K and Draken. And SPD was fun. It was really cool getting to see those characters again, because that's my favorite season. That was my first season of Power Rangers. But didn't really feel like much of anything on the whole. It just felt like, here's a quick story with these characters. Draken's in it for a second, and it's over now. And the Ninja Steel one was okay. I mean, like, I've never been feeling Ninja Steel. And like, this is better than any episode of the show, but that's not saying a whole lot. So yeah, this was a lot of fun, but it's really only my number one because I only had 3 books this week and no other book really impressed me.
Yeah, I get that feeling too sometimes on the lighter weeks, from like, this wins by default, and that's kind of been my whole month. Like, there were some really big like standouts, like obviously, the Batman and the action issues, and like certainly other things are are better than what I picked, but I don't know. There's like when something gets to a certain level of good through a run, I get to a point where I'm like, all right, it's got to be like even better than I was expecting for that writer and artist team, you know?
Yeah.
For me to keep picking it, because otherwise I'm just going to talk about the same book every week. Like, I might as well just talk about Bombshells every week at that point, right? Speaking of which, I don't have Bombshells on my on any of my books this week, but I was really shocked by the turn this arc took, because like the arc had felt kind of fillery, dealing with the Batgirls of Gotham and that universe's version of the Suicide Squad, and neither of those teams had ever done anything that was like really consequential to the whole universe. This arc they did, and we got Granny Goodness in the Bombshells universe, and that was pretty freaking sweet. That was a cool twist. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my honorable mention now. That's not it. And talk about Margaret Bennett again with Batwoman number 14. I really like this. The only reason it wasn't on the top is because I think this came from the same week that Action 1000 did. Like, that was a huge fucking week. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, like honestly, I would have gone Action if it wasn't for the fact that MMPR 26 impressed me with the fact that it got me emotional over Tommy's death.
Nice.
Like,
nice.
that's something I thought was impossible.
Yeah. So, like, there's that aspect of this where just, like, the week it came out were a lot of other really great books. But then there's also the fact that this is, I think, the lead up to the conclusion of this mini Arms of Death arc that Margaret Bennett's been writing. But this has just such a freaking sick twist to it, where this whole arc has, or this whole book series so far has been focusing on the idea of Kate Kane as an addict, as someone who, you know, needs, like, replaces one addiction with another, and who's in recovery and uses, you know, the mantle of the Bat as recovery. And so to just try to burn that for her by putting a, you know, cocktail of infectious diseases into bats and then releasing them over Gotham at the end of the issue.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's like, holy fuck, that is evil. It's just like, it's like the worst possible thing you could think to do to Gotham is ruin bats. And that's just, wow. So it's like, destroy the city, destroy the person. It's so perfectly, like, epic and personal and character driven. So I really, really like this issue, and I'm very excited for the next few issues as we conclude this mini Arms of Death thing. Fall of the House of Kane Part 2 is the name of the current arc, but it's kind of the whole thing. So
like, the whole arc is called Part 2?
Nah, yeah, there you go. There you go. You know, that reminds me of a joke I came up with a couple months back. I want to get Harrison Ford, since he's reprising so many roles, playing Han Solo and Indiana Jones in his old age. I want to get Harrison Ford back for Air Force 1 2.
That'd be great.
Yeah. It's like, you could have, like, the new young president, and he's going to be traveling with, you know, former presidents, and Harrison Ford's going to be there, and they're all on Air Force
Adam
One.
Baldwin in the movie playing Trump.
Yeah. They get you know, the plane gets hijacked again, and so Harrison Ford has to take, like, the new younger president under his wing and teach him how to kick terrorists off his plane.
We're laughing, but I would see that.
Me too. Dude, instantly sold on that movie. Someone give me Harrison Ford's number.
Yeah.
All right, so what is your honorable mention then?
My honorable mention is Superman number 45. This was just a really nice little heartwarming done-in-one bit of wrap-up for Tomasi's whole run with I want to say the Kents, but it feels weird saying the Kents when Ma and Pa aren't there. But it's Clark, Lois, and John moving off of the farm they've been on for the majority of Tomasi's run, because they're going to be in Metropolis now. They actually have been there for a while, but they just didn't sell the farm until now. And it's the first time John has ever moved from a house he's been in for a significant amount of time. So it's Clark taking it as a big learning opportunity and sort of helping John understand that change is good. And at the same time, there's some really emotional moments. Like there's one scene where after they've gotten everything out of the house, Lois goes back inside to clean while Clark and John have lunch and wait for the truck. And she just looks, and there's her son's footprints are all over the floor.
Mhm.
And she just starts crying. And it was like, whoa. I've never seen a moment like that with Lois Lane, but I totally bought it. It was great. And then really cute little ending. Their moving truck ends up getting stuck on the highway, so the Flash comes and just moves all their stuff to Metropolis for them. That was great. And then they go to the town fair one last time, and Superman has this like narration talking about how he's going to miss the town they've been in, and it's been great being back in a small town, but it's time for him and John to get back to being heroes and for John to grow up a little more. And it's just like, man, the best thing that has happened with Superman since he died is that he's become a father.
Yeah.
I absolutely love everything that people have been doing with that. You know, people always say, don't marry characters, don't give them kids, it'll make them less interesting. This is the first time I've ever really enjoyed a Superman run as a comic reader. Now, I haven't gone back and read a lot of classic stuff, but I'm going to really miss Tomasi's run. This has been great.
I'm really curious what Bendis is going to be doing with John. John, because what I've heard is Super Sons got canned because Bendis has a lot of big plans for John.
Yeah.
And that makes me nervous as shit for John, because God, I love the idea of Superman and Batman both being fathers.
Well, I kind of trust Bendis because he's the guy who created Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think he's gonna like kill him off or anything, but I'm really worried about what exactly he's going to do with John in particular. So yeah, it's really it was a brilliant move to make Superman a father, and I don't know why I didn't pick up the Superman book with Rebirth. I probably should have, though.
It did take a little bit to get going.
Okay. All right. Well, you want to do cover, pick of the month, or want to do worst book first?
Let's go worst, best cover, best of the month.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and go on to the worst. And I'll go. Wait, no, did you do your honorable mention?
I just did my honorable mention.
Dude, I'm bad at this shit, man. I'm so bad at this. All right, so my worst
You
book
need to take some ADD medication before you do this show.
I need to do what?
You need to take ADD medication before you do this show.
I'm sorry, I'm not paying any attention. What? Like you totally walked into it the second time.
You got me. You did a funny on me.
Oh man. All right. So my worst book is Trinity number, what is this? 21. God. 21.
Is the tagline for that issue literally Rise of the Org Lords?
The Search for Steve Trezor. Yeah, Rise of the Ogre Lords.
That sounds like a D&D plot. That literally sounds like a 12-year-old titling their D&D story.
You're not wrong. I probably would be more invested in that plot, though. This has just been dude, Steve once told me that James Robinson's Starman is on par, if not as good as Neil Gaiman's Sandman. And I am perfectly willing to believe him until I started reading James Robinson's Wonder Woman and Trinity. Because
he's just losing it in his old age. Do you think he's going Frank Miller?
I don't know if no, this isn't like Frank Miller crazy bad. This is just the opposite of good. This is like when I first started seeing Robinson's name pop up, I was like, oh, this guy clearly doesn't have much experience. He's writing some really just falling into a lot of pitfalls, a lot of cliches. He's just doing a really, really like lackluster job, and he doesn't have the experience to be writing books like this. And then I found out that he's been working in the industry for over 20 years, and I'm like, what is he doing? How is this cliche? Like, he clearly doesn't have a voice for these characters or this universe then. I feel like I feel like I'm reading someone cashing a paycheck. And it's just like such a lackluster amount of effort and some really confusing ass shit. Like, I ranted about this book for a while, but this issue in particular drove me nuts with the way it paneled things, just flipping back and forth from the past and present with such a minuscule amount of context clues. The only way you can tell if you're in the past or present is based on whether or not Batman's cape is torn.
What?
That's the only way you can tell what's going on. I swear to God.
You're joking. That's not real. That's a false. That's a fallacy. Nobody could be that stupid.
No, I am dead serious. In this panel, Batman's cape is ripped at the shoulder.
I can't even tell it's ripped.
Yeah. On the next page, Batman's got his full cape. And that's the only context you're given that you've jumped back forward in time in the story. It's so, like, Superman's cape is also ripped. Superman's outfit is also slightly ripped and damaged. Wonder Woman's fine. It's just the slightest little bit of art clues. There's no past, present coming up over and over again. And it's just confusing as shit. Same thing happens with this. You get a big 2-page spread of them walking around in this like treasure room kind of thing. And you turn the page and it's Batman walking in a big empty kind of weird room with the sorceress. And it's like, how am I supposed to keep track of this? It's just that's amateur level writing for comic books that you don't have context for that stuff. It's a really, really bad issue. And I am waiting for, Trinity's almost over. So at this point, I'm just reading it because
I was about to ask if you were going to drop it.
At this point, I'm just reading it because it's almost done and I'm base level invested. This book started out so strong with Francis Manapul writing and doing the art. And then it got to Robinson doing fill-in arcs. And then sales said they were going to cancel it because it wasn't selling enough. And so Manapul never came back to conclude what he was building up.
Huh. I wonder why sales were so bad.
Because Robinson's just not doing anything. It really feels like I'm just reading someone cashing a paycheck. You know when like you go into work and you're just not feeling it, so you do the bare minimum that day just to get through.
Or a customer pisses you off, so to keep from getting mad at another one, you just shut down for the rest of the shift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that happens to me sometimes. But
yep.
I work at retail. I don't make comic books.
Right? That's the thing. Is like and between this and Wonder Woman, which is also like Wonder Woman's a little stronger than this. I'll give him credit. It's just not good. It's so just not good. I'm really disappointed in this because it shouldn't be hard to write a cool Trinity book, right? It's Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. All you have to do is write one of them well, and the book can work. Another thing I noticed, it took me a long time to notice. So DC's been doing this whole like giving the character their logo thing for the new.
Oh yeah, I really like their new side ribbon thing.
Yeah, me too. Trinity doesn't have its own logo. It's just the Justice League logo.
Oh, so every department is phoning it in on this book.
Right? Like, why doesn't Trinity have a logo? It should, obviously you're going to go with like either a T or maybe a 3.
I would just do the Teen Titans logo, but in a different font.
Yeah, I don't know. Just another thing. I'm like, why can't you get a Trinity logo? Why? Yeah, it's so disappointing. But anyway, what's your worst book of the month?
My pick for worst of the month is the WrestleMania 2018 special. This is probably the most frustrated I've ever been with a single issue, and I picked it up on good word from friends. People have been telling me that the Boom WWE comics are great, and I've been getting into the WWE in the last year and a half. I've been becoming a bit of a wrestle boy, you know. My new podcast with Boingo Writer, Analytical Fanboys, our first episode was talking about WrestleMania right after it happened. And I had picked this up in anticipation for that, because I said, okay, it's probably just going to be a collection of like little stories building up all the stuff that's going into all the matches that are going to be in this year's thing, this year's WrestleMania. No, it's really not that. What this is it is one story featuring The Miz, which is a total nothing, two stories about Macho Man Randy Savage, which have nothing to do with this year's WrestleMania, but are about two different WrestleManias that he actually competed in when he was alive. And then a story featuring Stephanie McMahon, which is from about a WrestleMania that was 3 or 4 years ago. And John Cena, Chris Jericho, and Jeff Hardy are on the cover for no reason except to sell the book. They don't appear in this at all. This should be a cover feature, Macho Man and this guy, because I think he fights this guy in the book. I don't know who this is off the top of my head, though. It's fine that Macho Man and this guy are on the cover, but this should be Miz and Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, because he also has a cameo in the Stephanie McMahon story because they're married. But it's not that, and the stories aren't even that good. Like I said, the Miz story is a total nothing. It feels like I learned nothing new about that character. In fact, it felt kind of demeaning to that character, because it felt like the story was trying to push the only thing that's interesting about this character is that he says the word awesome a lot, which is the complete opposite. Awesome is just a thing that is associated with him. And then the Macho Man stories, I had to think of his name for a second, they felt like a Saturday morning cartoon. And I get that that's what 80s wrestling gets compared to a lot, but if you go back and watch 80s wrestling, it wasn't actually like that. Yes, the characters were a little cartoony, but the actual ambiance and the way the whole event was treated was like an actual sporting event. So I don't really like that interpretation of just those characters in a Saturday morning cartoon. And then the Stephanie McMahon story felt like I've seen this plot a million times before. It's just her taking some assistant intern character who doesn't have a name. We've never seen her before. She'll probably never be an actual person on Raw or anything like that. But she takes her backstage of WrestleMania and she's like, help me pick out an outfit. And as they're doing that, Stephanie gives her a bunch of business advice about you got to be in this industry. It's a man's business, but we're women. You got to be really cutthroat. And I'm like, I've seen this before. I don't need this plot with Stephanie McMahon. I'm not even a fan of her character in the WWE, but her character is better than this story. And to top it all off, when I got to the page where the staples are in this, it tore out. And I'm not saying I pulled it too hard and it came out. I mean, it practically fell out of its own accord. So not only is this book badly written and the cover is a horrible design, but it's shoddily put together too. So this is literal garbage.
Yeah. Oh, damn. The throw. I think we should almost maybe not every single time, because you're not always going to have one, but I almost want to do a segment of just most misleading cover, because those are so consistent in comics. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I didn't even know that WrestleMania had comics or wrestling had comics.
Boom just got the license like this year. Their main WWE book has had 2 arcs so far.
Okay. No, I didn't even know that was a thing because like I thought obviously everyone knows that wrestling's got like the whole stage show aspect, that it's like certainly physical and everything, but it's not real, whatever you want to go into with that.
It's a performance. It's not a contest.
Yeah, it's got the theatric kind of thing to it. But like I thought, like even though everyone knew that, I thought that was still part of the whole thing is you still kind of act like it's got some level of reality. So it's kind of funny to sort of learn that
CM Punk went on his pipe bomb tirade, the whole industry has gotten really into mixing kayfabe and reality, which kayfabe is what they call canon.
Okay. No, it's just it's kind of funny to find out that there's comics. Like I want a WrestleMania like Santa crossover or something at this point.
Triple H versus Klaus coming next Christmas.
Yes. Like I don't even care about wrestling, but I would read that. Written by Grant Morrison's WWE arc. I want it to be
that would be insane.
Oh man, that's too funny. All right. Did you say best cover next?
Yeah.
Okay. I was, initially I was gonna have Action because I really liked the Mike Allred cover, but I'd forgotten about this until I'd started looking through again. And yeah, I bought this for the cover.
I was almost gonna do both covers as my cover of the week.
Yeah, dude, oh my fucking god. I even tweeted about this because they were tweeting that there was the Mikael Janin cover and the Joelle Jones cover, and they're set. And I'm sitting there at work. I'm like, okay, which cover should I get? Should I get this one with Catwoman or should I get the one with Batman looking at the mirror? And I asked one of the guys working. He goes, I'm just saying for me as a completionist, since they're one piece, I would get both. I'm like, no, fuck you. Don't say that. Don't make me do that. I was this close to doing that.
I had the same conversation with somebody. And so I was like, yeah, now I got to do it. And then I went into my store and they got shorted. They only had the Catwoman cover. So I was like, shit. And then I walked down the street 5 blocks to go to the other comic shop in my town and get the other cover.
You have 2 comic shops 5 blocks apart?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah, no, I was so close to buying both, but I was like, I'm saving for a house right now, so I have to like chide myself. I'll get it in trade and it'll have both covers. That's my point right now. So this is just a beautiful cover though. The design work that goes into the dress here is brilliant. Like I would never think black on a wedding dress, but it totally works. I've never
given a shit about wedding dresses or really dresses in general, but that dress is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really smart because it looks real. Because like a number of years ago, Storm and Black Panther got together in the comics, and it was a big whole thing about Storm's wedding dress, and they even got a dress designer to design it, and it looked really cool and stunning and all that stuff, but no woman would actually wear that as a wedding dress. It's just it would never be an actual thing, where this looks like very real, very actually designed, but it fits the character so well. And it's such a bold idea to me to put black on a wedding dress like that. I thought it was a really, really cool idea. So if you want to hear men talk about dresses some more, no, but like I thought this was a really, really cool idea. Like if I were ever to have to imagine Catwoman in a wedding dress, that's exactly what I didn't even know I would need. So yeah, it was definitely this one. Yeah. What about you? What's your cover of the month?
My cover of the month is Miss Marvel number 29. This is just a really adorable little Archie throwback, and it perfectly illustrates everything going on in the issue. I've never seen this artist before, but I'm completely in love with their style now. And the title of the arc is "Can You Feel the Love Tonight?" How can you not love that? This just came out of nowhere and completely blew me away, and I loved it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I've not read any Miss Marvel, so that'll have to be one that passes me by, but looks interesting. Okay. So best of the month. What have we got for best of the month then? I'm really tempted to just go back to it again, and I think I'm gonna have to. Yeah, fuck it. Action Comics number 1000. It's history, man. You gotta. It's Action Comics 1000.
I see, if every story in it had been really good, I probably would have gone best of the month, but things like history just aren't enough for me to push it up there. It has to be, it made me feel something really strong. And that's why my best of the month is MMPR number 26.
Okay.
I have nothing more to say on this issue, but like, just, man, this is the Power Rangers comic I have been waiting for.
All right. I can dig it, man. It's good stuff. It's cool when you get something that like surprises you with characters that you know so well. So I feel you there. For me, it's Superman, and I'm not a big Superman guy, but it's so like I feel what people feel for Superman while I was reading through some of the stories in Action 1000. So it really worked for me.
All right, shall we go on to news?
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, so there wasn't a whole lot of news this month. Just like, I think I only have like 4 stories here, but I think it's so much less because there was like a big convention last month.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this real quick. Do you have the Morrison thing on there, the rumor?
I hadn't heard about that. I didn't see Newsarama post anything about that. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Okay, this is just rumor right now. This is not confirmed, but it's something that's got me really excited. It's really funny because I was just talking about it on an episode of Comic Reviews right before the rumor started to spread. But it looks like Grant Morrison may be writing a Green Lantern book.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we don't know which one he's going to be if he does do it.
Isn't somebody about to leave the Hal Jordan book?
Yeah, as we get closer to 50, a lot of people are leaving. So like Dan Jurgens is leaving Action and he's taking over on what is it? Green Lanterns with the Simon and Jessica Cruz book. So Dan Jurgens will be taking that over, I believe, is what they've come down to. And they're not sure what's going on with Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps book. But it looks like that could be the book Morrison takes over should he come. And I'm really excited about that because Morrison's written an iconic Batman run. Morrison's written an iconic Superman run by doing both Action Comics and All-Star Superman. I love Wonder Woman Earth 1, which is, of course, Morrison as well. And he did The Flash with Mark Millar back in the late 90s, early 2000s for 12 to 13 issues. So really, and he has, of course, the famous Justice League run. But as far as like from the iconic Justice League lineup, you know, Morrison hasn't written solo Aquaman, solo Martian Manhunter, or solo Green Lantern.
So you think he might be finally trying to complete the set?
Yeah, that's what I'm really hoping for. So if he can knock out solo Green Lantern, all we need is a solid Martian Manhunter and Aquaman run or something. It doesn't have to be like, I'm sure he's done one-shot stuff like he did in Final Crisis. He did the Alpha Lanterns and stuff. But as far as just a solid piece, a solid singular work on a character, I'll read anything with Morrison's name on it at this point eventually. But I am like super excited for Morrison on the idea of Morrison doing Green Lantern because it's cosmic DC and it's Grant Morrison and that's awesome. So yeah, that idea excites the hell out of me, and I really, really hope it comes true.
See, I've not read a lot of Morrison, but I constantly hear you and Steve talk him up. So he's one of those writers, much like Gail Simone, that I'm constantly like, yeah, he's got some iconic runs. I got to get those in trade one day. But I don't know. If this does happen, I might have to jump on it just to finally get myself some real exposure to Morrison. Because the most I've read of his is I read like the beginning of Batman Inc. because I didn't realize that was part of a huge run.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right when I was getting into comics. And then I also I think a few months ago I bought all of Batman Gothic in issues and read that, and that was great.
Oh yeah, that's a really good solid story. If you want a really good taste of what I would consider accessible Morrison, I would definitely go and pick up his Justice League run. I'm doing that right now on Trade Talk, and man, it's like really, really good, and it's just the most like not weird stuff that Morrison's done. It's the most mainstream kind of accessible I feel Morrison's ever been. So.
Yeah, I've got that in my Amazon wish list, so I will get to it eventually.
Eventually. All right, what else have you got for news though?
Okay, so the first thing that happened this month that caught my eye was the original X-Men are headed for extermination.
Oh god.
I don't have a lot to say on this. I don't plan to read it, but I'm just saying, thank God somebody is finally getting rid of this weird time travel original X-Men in current continuity shit. It really pissed me off when they did it, and I was gonna get into X-Men. I was interested in Brian Michael Bendis doing X-Men, and then they announced that this was what he was doing, and I was like, oh, I guess I just won't read X-Men for a few years. So these guys are going away. I'm hoping it's going to be ushering in a new era of good X-Men comics, because everybody tells me that all the stuff that was happening before Bendis with X-Men was really good, and then he came in and kind of ruined things.
Oh, that's disappointing.
So yeah, I just wanted to report on that, because that is sort of a mini event thing that's happening for X-Men. I doubt either of us will read it though.
Yeah, man, Marvel's always had an accessibility problem, and to jump back to the X-Men conversation we were having, Marvel's always had an accessibility problem since they've never rebooted their universe until really recently, like done a full reboot. They need to start doing something more in line with the Earth One run, because X-Men's got it like twice as bad as the rest of Marvel, where it's just impossible to get into anything without having to read, 600 issues. So we'll figure out about that, because I'm sure the extermination event's got X-Men fans excited. It's got me going, yeah, I still probably won't read X-Men month to month, or likely
it's very
ever.
Much oh, that's happening for me.
Yep, same.
Much like Doomsday Clock. So since I just got us on DC, wow, accidental transition. There's going to be a Catwoman ongoing by Joelle Jones. I'm really excited for this. I've been liking everything that's been going on with Catwoman in the King run, and it seems like this is going to tie in pretty heavily to that. So I'm going to at least pick up the first issue.
Yeah, and it's got Laura Allred on it. So I talk up Mike Allred all the time, but part of what makes his stuff so good is, of course, the coloring. Mike Allred's colorblind, and his wife does all his coloring for him.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, so Joelle Jones writing and getting... she's writing it and doing the art, or is she just writing, and Laura Allred's doing all the art?
I'm not sure. Let me look at the story real quick.
Written by Joelle Jones, art and cover by Joelle Jones, color by Laura Allred. Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. Laura Allred does some really, really solid coloring without having to do a lot of render tricks, which is nice. Joelle Jones' style of art is really, really appealing to me. It's just It's on that same level of what I really like about Allred, where it's nice and smooth and simple, but really, really iconic.
It feels like Jim Lee if Jim Lee ever was reined in.
I don't know if I'd agree with that, but I kind of see where you're coming from. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Haley.
Hello, Haley. So the next thing I have is kind of interesting because I didn't realize this was going to be like a thing that was going to happen a lot. Because last time we talked about all the Marvel Fresh Start books, and one of the things we talked about was Wakanda Forever Amazing Spider-Man. Apparently, Wakanda Forever is like a series of one-shots that's happening, and the next one is X-Men related, and it's supposed to heavily feature Storm. And I wanted to bring this up because I thought it was interesting that they were doing that, and also I know there's people who are big fans of the Black Panther Storm power couple. So if anybody out there who is watching this show, you know that's happening now.
Yeah. No, Wakanda Forever, is that... I forget if we talked about it. Is that written by Coates or no? Written by Coates, I'd be very interested.
This issue
is written by someone whose name
written
is...
by Mindy Okorafor, I think.
Oh, pronunciation's a bitch. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, Mindy Okorafor. Yeah, let's just go with that.
Yeah.
I find it's easier to pronounce names if you try to go with what you think the root language accent is. You could end up being wildly wrong, but it makes it sound better if nothing else.
Yeah.
Than butchering it. So yeah, I don't know. That could be that sounds cool. I'd be excited for a Black Panther book that I'm actually into. So I might have to pick that up.
It is a one shot, so I might check it out. We'll see how much of a pull I have that week, kind of a thing. So now that Action Comics 1000 is out, we now have solicitations for Bendis's Action Comics number 1001 and Superman number 1, which is really interesting that they're taking the main book back to number 1. And I didn't really want to discuss the solicitations because they are potentially spoilery. I just kind of wanted to bring up this idea that DC may be moving towards one writer, one numbering, which is something I've wanted comics to do for a long time. You know, if we're going to be constantly going back to number 1 and rebooting and rebirthing and refreshing and starting and all this stuff, let's just make it when a writer's run ends, the book ends, and if somebody wants to write that book next, give them a number 1.
That's not a bad idea. I kind of like what Marvel's making its move to do, which is to have number 1 starting out at different points, kind of like what you're talking about when a new writer or something pops on. But to keep the legacy numbering and just kind of put that like off into the side somewhere where it's like it's there for the collectors and stuff, but it's not intimidating to the readers.
Yeah.
Or to the new readers specifically. So I like that idea. I don't know about doing it for, the big books. Like, I'm glad that they're keeping the numbering on Action. So I don't know. I'm of multiple minds about it because I can put myself back when I started reading comics and I was intimidated by some of the big numbers. So I definitely see where people are coming from with the need to do that. The thing we just need to get away from is Marvel with a new number 1 every month. Where it's like, okay, what I want to read this.
I mean, I'm of two minds about this. On the one hand, I really jump behind what I was talking about with when it's a new run, go back to number 1. But on the other, I'm like, in this day and age, you can just do what I did when I got into comics, which is I spent a year of watching new comic book review shows and trying to figure out what books were good and interested me before I ever went to a shop.
Maybe. I don't think everyone's gonna do that though. So
Yeah. And
I don't know. The need to bring new people in is always a big thing with comics, and with the movies being more and more popular, I want to see stuff that actually is capitalizing on that. So
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, the final news story I have for this week is something that's probably not going to interest us a whole lot, but I thought we should bring it up. Charles Soule is taking over Astonishing X-Men at issue number 13, and he's changing the lineup to be Colossus, Dazzler, Warpath, Beast, and Havoc. Really interesting array of things going on there, because it's like some X-Men I know but aren't like super big in my mind, some really kind of obscure X-Men, and then Soule, who, as we discussed, has been all over the place lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about the only thing about that news that interests me is Beast.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Very X-Men heavy week. I feel like I'm shitting on the X-Men. I wish I could love the X-Men. I really do.
Yeah. Like I said, I love X-Men movies. The comics are just hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Soule, I'm definitely not going to a book for Soule. That's first and foremost.
See, I would have done that before I heard about your experience with the Darth Vader book, because in my experience, Soule has always been good.
Yeah, I don't know. Poe Dameron's always been a bit of a disappointment for me. That was my first exposure to Soule, was Poe Dameron.
Okay.
And that book was a freaking roller coaster. So I was really worried about Darth Vader, and it's been a bit of a it's on an uptick. But yeah. So I don't know. I'm not going to a book for Soule though. He's gotta prove himself a little bit more for me. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of the Monthly Comic Roundup. Thanks again, Vac, for doing this. We're getting there. 2 months down.
Yeah. How long until we beat the record, or have we already?
I think we got to get 6 episodes, and we'll be the longest running version of this series.
All right. I'm ready. We're gonna do it, boss.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. It's funny. Like, usually I'm not the problem at all with these. Twice now, I am almost the reason that we didn't get the show up a month. So that's pretty funny, because I ended up having to work this morning. Like I said, that was fun. Anyway, all right, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us. Stay tuned later today for a video from me announcing what the next episode of Comic Book Club is. If you haven't voted for this month's edition of Comic Book Club, do it quick, because I'm taking vote and posting a video by 7 o'clock tonight. So keep your eyes open for that, and we'll be doing the next episode of Comic Book Club. Also, in a brief announcement for me, I will be doing another live show on next Saturday for Free Comic Book Day. So join me for that as I go over my books from Free Comic Book Day, and I don't know, maybe I'll buy a figure or something. All right, everyone, thanks very much for watching, though. Until next time, bye.
Later, people.